Welcome to Bloomers in the Garden. I'm Len Schroeder.
And I'm Julio Zamora.
And on today's show, we have a special guest, Shirley Spurbeck, Bloomer's wild bird expert. Shirley will be joining us for 2 segments talking about the changing weather patterns and housing and feeding of wild birds.
Then we're going to talk about how to dig up and store your tender bulbs.
After that, we're going to discuss our favorite houseplants.
Then what to do with your leaves.
So stay tuned and we'll be back after this short break.
Bloomers in the Garden is brought to you each week by Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Bloomers is an award-winning garden center just 20 minutes from Philadelphia. Bloomers has been providing expert advice turning brown thumbs green for over 30 years. At Bloomers, we want you to ask us every question, even if you think it's silly. We share information in a friendly, non-judgmental way that is meant to teach and spread the joy of gardening. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center in Washington Township, Gloucester County. For directions, go to bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden. I'd like to welcome back one of Bloomers in the Garden's regular guests, Shirley Spurbeck, Bloomers wild bird specialist. Welcome back, Shirley.
Thank you.
And today, we want to talk about the birds and where they're going to live, because I hadn't seen many at this time, Shirley, and you want to let us know a little bit about where they're at this point?
Well, are you feeding them? Do you have a bird feeder?
No, but I do have some plants that they love, and they have seeds in them.
Okay.
So I'm wondering what's going on with them at this point.
Okay.
Well, this time, most of the seed-bearing plants are going dormant, so it's very important to have a bird feeder out of some sort. You can get a tube feeder, caged feeder, or a hopper feeder. Hopper feeder is just a wooden feeder with a lid, that kind of thing.
Well, we were talking about yesterday when we were preparing for the show, so what happens? The birds, some fly south, like that always saying, birds fly south for the winter. But you were saying that they really don't. There's only a handful that do.
Well, the birds that you see mostly at the bird feeder will be the ones that are staying. The other ones that will be leaving, you don't really see necessarily around your bird feeder. Like there is one that has left August, September, and that's a catbird.
Catbirds are gone?
Yes, catbirds have gone. They head down to
what's a catbird?
A catbird is called a catbird because its sound or its voice sounds like a cat.
I know what that is.
And they'll come to your feeder if you have grape jelly out.
Yeah, they're noisy.
Yeah, they're a pretty bird. They're rather large and slender. They're gray, and they have a dark gray cap on the top of their head.
And when they do sound like a cat, I had one outside my window, and at the office, and I was thinking you had feral cats, and it was that darn catbird right next to the window. But they're kind of flighty, that they're kind of cautious when they are around people, right?
Yes, you don't see them out so much. They're in the bushes and the trees.
And what do they eat, Shirley? Did you say?
They're seed eaters, they're insect eaters.
Oh, okay.
But they will come to your feeder if you have grape jelly.
Oh, grape
jelly. And they defend that.
Yeah. Sounds like lunch.
Yes. Peanut butter?
Yeah. They don't like peanut butter mixed in it.
Yeah, do they?
Wow.
They may have competition. So, now, what else? There are birds like purple martins, orioles. Where do they go?
Purple martins are cavity nesters.
Mm-hmm.
They nest in colonies, and they need a special house called a purple martin house.
Okay.
And it has maybe 6 or 8 different nesting sites in one box.
So tell me, when people think you have to have a nesting box, or do they find natural places to nest?
No, you have to have a nesting box.
So
they're not open nesters.
So there's not in the wild. They don't come to unless there's a box.
Correct.
Okay.
Or you have like a gourd. It's like a squash.
Mm-hmm.
That's hollowed out.
Very timely. Very timely. Bloomers has gourds.
And they come in about May,
mm-hmm.
and they've left already. They head down to Mexico.
Okay. Kind of like hummingbirds.
Yes, indeed. Yes, they've gone.
Okay. And do they have, I'm just curious, because do they have like a range where they'll only go so far north? Or do they go all over the place?
Yes, they'll go most into North America.
Okay. All right. And Orioles, like the catbird, like the Orioles love, I know that you're supposed to put out orange and things like that, and that there's actual Oriole feeders that look like hummingbird feeders, but do they go too?
Yes, they'll migrate down south to warmer climates, and when they come up in the spring, they'll be depleted for a certain extent. So that's when having the Oriole nectar out will help them a lot until the insects come out, and then they'll feed on their own.
Okay, so you think they're kind of like the baseball team, Orioles.
Yeah.
They come out in the spring and then they leave in the fall.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
All right. Now, we were talking about birdhouses and whether it's necessary to put out birdhouses in the fall. So this time of the year, like it's going to get cold and things, do birds go into birdhouses now?
No, necessarily won't. They'll be coming to your feeder right now because they can't wait until the cold weather hits to be conditioned for the cold weather. So they're looking at your feeder to help them get through the winter time.
Right. We're going to talk all about the different types of food and feeders in the next segment, where this one, it's just amazing to think that birds don't really find a home. Right?
Yeah, they live out in the bushes. And there's different ways that they can adjust themselves to that weather. You might see them standing on one foot with one leg tucked under, into its chest to get warm.
Right.
Or you might see it with its feathers fluffed up. Or they might be sitting together on a branch or sunning themselves in the morning sun. All those things help them survive. But
I've seen that where a cluster of birds are just kind of sitting in the parking lot in the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your feeder is important for their survival.
And as far as your favorite, bird, I know that the first thing that got you into birds was a blue jay.
Blue jay.
Now, blue jays are year-round, right?
Yes, they are.
And that they're doing the same thing. Just they're big. I mean, they're big, and
they're very beautiful.
They are. They're a little noisy.
Noisy. That could be a good thing if there's a predator coming around. Like a Cooper's or a sharpshin, or they'll let out the alarm call, and that's when you'll see a squirrel run up a tree. The birds will disappear. So,
okay. How come some people don't like blue jays? It's because are they bullies where they chase the other birds away from the feeder?
Yeah, but they're very gregarious. They've got their own personality, and it makes them very endearing.
Okay, nice, nice.
Yeah.
And what about let's see, bluebirds? I know Mary Carr, you listening? Mary Carr is retired from bloomers and is now a full-time keeper of bluebirds.
Yeah.
What happens to bluebirds during the wintertime?
They'll go down into the warmer climates, down to the Carolinas. Some will stay, but most of them will leave.
Mm-hmm.
But they're insect eaters.
Okay. So they're not. Yeah, that's right. Because mealworms and things like that, you have to feed them. They have a special diet.
Yes, that's right. Mealworms will bring them in.
Yeah.
And we have those feed drives.
Yeah, I personally don't have the patience for that. But it's to attract those birds, and you set out their boxes, but their boxes will be empty soon, right?
Yes, they'll be empty now, and now's a good time to clean them out, because there might be a bird that will use that nesting box over the winter time to help survive.
Yeah.
So you can leave your nesting boxes out.
Yeah.
Just clean them out now, so they'll be ready for winter.
Okay.
Sometimes we don't recognize certain birds. Can you give us a little hint as to, let's say, for instance, the goldfinch, and what happens to the goldfinch at this time right now? Sean?
Yeah, like people don't see them. They say they disappeared, like they are going somewhere else.
They'll migrate within a 30 or 40 mile radius. Maybe they'll go down
there, though, right?
Yeah,
they're still in New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
they don't disappear.
Right.
What happens is, they just look different.
Yeah, the males will. They call it the New Jersey canary because the male is yellow, really bright yellow. It's a goldfinch. That's the goldfinch male's color in the breeding season. But now they're turning the soft brown color like the female, with maybe a little bit of yellow on the chest.
Okay.
But the way you can mostly see them, or we can see them as birds, is because of their black wing bars on their wings.
Do they retain that even when they're changing colors? And I guess they have a winter coat. Well, coat, but feathers.
Yeah, and they'll be building up their fat reserves and adding on extra feathers to keep warm in winter.
We always try to see why things happen within nature. Where darker colors absorb more heat, where yellow it reflects heat. Maybe that's why. I don't know, but it's a thought. It's a thought. And again, there a lot of times where in springtime, I'll think it's like, where'd all my cardinals go? And it turns out that I've got a bunch of juveniles, which I can't even tell that they're cardinals because they haven't changed into their adult plumage yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the wintertime, you'll see multiple cardinals feeding at one feeder just because they need that food to survive. But in the springtime, they get very territorial, so you won't see them grouping together as much.
Yeah.
There'll only be one male and one female.
Yeah, and do they mate for life?
I'm not sure.
Because there is some birds that do.
Yes, that's correct.
Like which ones mate for life? I always find that fascinating.
Yeah, no, sorry, at this moment, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing within the natural world. There's so many things that you don't even think of that. I don't know. Yeah. It is amazing. It is amazing. And birds have become a quasi hobby of mine. I mean, I know everything about plants, but birds, I just want to see them. And I get a lot of, you told me there are house finches and that there are a lot of different colors.
Yes.
Like they're a little bit purple and some are almost red. I thought they were just baby cardinals.
No, that's the purple finch.
Okay.
And they're real strawberry or raspberry color. Whereas the regular house finch is less red and more brown.
Okay.
But that's both the same member of the same family.
Right. And there's sparrows. Everybody knows, I think, what a sparrow is. They're brownish, but pretty.
Yeah.
Chickadees. Chickadees. What does a chickadee look like?
Chickadees, real small, and they're cream and black and brown.
Where are they cream, black, and brown?
Well, they're cream on the chest, and then they're black on the face and brown on the back.
Okay, and then there's the Carolina wren. What does that look like?
That's mostly brown, with a turned-up tail and a white eyebrow.
A white eyebrow. Okay.
Yes.
Which is the one that has the mohawk? It's like a gray bird.
That's
a bird.
That's a titmouse.
Okay. I love that bird. But it's not at my feeder in the summertime.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, you should be feeding it. They're like peanut splits mostly. Okay. So if you put peanut splits and whole sunflower shells, you're sure to find them. They'll be coming to your feeder.
And they are fat. They fly fast.
Don't they? They do.
Quick. Yeah, and the chickadees and the titmice hang out together.
All right. Well, we're going to be back with Shirley again after these messages from Bonai. Are animals eating those beautiful, expensive plants around your home? Bonite's Repelzol is the answer. Bonite's Repelzol is an all-natural animal repellent that repels deer, rabbits, skunks, squirrels, chipmunks, raccoons, and more by scent, taste, and as an irritant. Unlike other repellents, Repelzol does not have an unpleasant odor that can last up to 2 months. You can safely apply all-natural Repelzol to trees, shrubs, perennials, bulbs, and other plants. It's also great to use on structures and fences to prevent horses from chewing. Repelzol is available in both a liquid and granular form. The liquids are available in a ready-to-use concentrate and a hose and sprayer container that attaches to your garden hose. The granular form is available in a shaker container for easy application and in a 6-pound bag that you can apply through your spreader. Bonite products are family-made in America. Repelzol is available at these fine stores: Bloomer's Home and Garden Center, Sewell, Washington Township, New Jersey; Lehigh Valley Garden Center, Allentown, PA; Delray plus True Value, New Hope, PA. Well, we're back with Shirley Spurbeck, Bloomer's wild bird expert. And in this segment, we're going to talk about food, feeding, and of course, we're going to talk about the birds. You mentioned peanut splits quite a bit. Now, I've never used them. Tell me about peanut splits.
Peanut splits are just the whole peanut that's been taken out of the shell.
Right.
And it's a real popular food with most of the birds. Blue jays, cardinals, the woodpecker family.
Yeah.
But titmice and chickadees especially, they'll just go after splits first before anything else.
Really?
Yeah, it's a big favourite.
Oh, you need to get a bird feeder.
I did.
Yeah, you
really do.
Yeah.
I did.
You really do.
Let me ask you about that peanut splits. What do they look like? I mean, are they tiny little pieces or?
Yeah, they come in halves, or you can get chips broken down a little bit smaller. But they mostly have the peanut splits, which is half the peanut.
So it's peanuts.
Peanuts.
It's
It's just broken in half.
Not necessarily human food grade peanuts, but they look. You see it. It looks like a peanut.
Yes, it does.
Okay. I was reading an article the other day that was talking about like whole peanuts in the shell.
Oh, that's fun too. Blue jays love that. You can take a whole peanut and just throw it up in the air, and then the blue jay will come swooping by and get it before it even hits the ground.
Really?
You're like Mary Poppins.
You can make a real buddy out of peanuts.
Wow. All right. Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll see. I don't know. I might eat them. Now we were talking about hey, we broadcast on ESPN sports station, but we also do WWDB. We were talking about baseball, and we were talking about eating sunflower seeds and comparing that to birds. And you didn't even realize that baseball players and sunflowers and all that. It's amazing on how much sunflower seed is sold, and it's black oil sunflower, right?
Yeah.
And that's what. And you said because of the oil and protein.
Yes. Most of the birds, in fact, all of the birds, will rely mostly on black oil sunflower seed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mostly because it's high in oil, and it's a smaller seed, and it's easy for them to eat.
Okay.
In the shell, they've got to crack it open to get to the sunflower meat, or the inside of the seed, but they'll go for that first.
And any of you sports guys out there, what you find in a bag that you're getting from, I guess it's Daisy or any of those are actually striped sunflower seeds, which are bigger, but the birds don't like as much as black oil. And I guess it's because it has that's why they call it oil, and it just is better for the birds.
Yeah, when they process the striped sunflower, they'll screen it so that the smaller striped sunflowers, they keep out to the birds.
Okay. And now we learned something together that I wasn't sure. Like I feed in my feeder all the time. It's sunflower hearts, and sometimes it's called sunflower meat, but it's just basically whole sunflower.
Yeah, it's the sunflower without the shell.
And we found out that 80% of that is from black oiled sunflower and 20% from striped.
Right.
Which I found hard to believe because it's so big.
The bigger seed, the striped sunflower is the bigger seed, and the larger birds will go for that, like blue jays, woodpeckers.
Yeah, see, but when I'm feeding just straight meat, is it hearts or meat?
Either one's fine.
They're the same thing, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and also called chips.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're good to have and to use if you have a feeder on the deck or on the patio, or if you have your bird feeder on the lawn.
And you know what? That's exactly why I do it, because mine is on the deck, and I don't want to be cleaning up shells.
Right, yeah, most people do.
Okay. And now there's other seed, like, let's see, we were talking about sunflower, we talked about peanut splits. Now, there's also safflower. Safflower is when I feel like I'm hating on the squirrels, I use.
Yeah, you can use that safflower, but use it straight. Don't mix it with anything.
No.
And if you're going to start using that, maybe put only about a third of the safflower seed in the feeder, because the squirrels will go up there scratching out the seed looking for what you normally put in there. And then they'll waste what you have in the feeder. It'll be on the ground.
That's smart. That's really smart, because sometimes I have seen that. And there are two types of safflower, right? Tell me about the two different types.
Yes, there's white safflower, and there's Nutrisaf, which is a new breed of safflower seed that has a softer shell, and that's not so noticeable on the ground. But it's a deterrent for squirrels, although if the squirrels are really hungry, they'll eat most anything.
Right.
And it's also a deterrent for grackles. And
what's a grackle?
Grackle is a type of bird that, like a blackbird, but you'll see white stripes in its feathers.
So how big is it, and does it flock? Tell me more about a grackle.
A grackle is a bird that flocks to the feeder mostly in the springtime. Our customers will see that. So it's important to have
But what does it look like again?
It's black, It's all black, and you'll notice them coming in flocks. They'll come in flocks. Like one time in the springtime, or that was in summertime, there was a thunderstorm going across our part of town, and I experienced what I call a fallout, which was hundreds and hundreds of birds that had been taken out of the sky because of the rain, and ended up around my house, and it was unbelievable.
Were they hurt?
Oh no, they were having the best time over there. they were flapping in the bird bars. They were on the street. They were everywhere. And it's like 5 minutes later they were gone. It's like where'd they all go? So that's one of the pleasures of bird feeding. But they'll fly around in flocks, and you'll notice them.
Yeah. Is there any other birds that you don't really want? Like what's? I always get a bird in my chimney every year, and it's trying to nest and falls down the chimney. Has it's a yellow pointy beak, and it's just a problem. I don't want it anywhere near my bird feeder because it's kind of a bully. Do you have a guess what?
Well, it might have been a swift or a swallow.
A swallow.
Yeah, they're those kind of birds.
Okay, and like you said, swallow. We have barn swallows.
Correct.
Man, they
make mud nests, which is quite amazing.
I was going to say they make a mess. I'm not real happy about those. Because they do it in my garage.
Yeah, there's no real way of keeping them out, really.
Yeah.
But,
shut the garage door.
True.
Yeah, that worked for a little while. Your favorite is a bluebird, or not bluebird, a blue jay, correct?
Oh yeah, that was the first one I noticed when I was here.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh gee, that's hard to pick one. It really is.
Julio, how about
I'd say it would be a cardinal.
Cardinal? What about you?
Well, this year I really love the little guy that he was it the wren, the little house wren.
House
wren.
Yeah.
I hear him all the time in the morning.
Okay.
And I go, oh my goodness, he must be around here somewhere. And then I saw him once in a while around my shrubs. I guess they were trying to eat something or trying to.
Now, they nest because they're laying eggs, but once they're done laying eggs, do they just perch in our shrubbery and stuff like you're saying over the winter?
Yes, they overwinter outside. And unless you have a special, they only use your birdhouse in the wintertime. Just have to clean it out.
Okay, and that's an important thing. Clean your feeder. We talked about that. Right. Why is it important to clean your feeder?
Well, you don't want those bugs and grubs to be overwintering in the birdhouse, and it can be detrimental in the springtime. So you can take it down, clean it out, maybe use an immersion solution of 9 parts water to 1 part bleach just to disinfect it, and then wash it out again and let it dry in the sun, and then hang it back up again for winter use.
What about feeders?
Oh, feeders, yes. Some societies say you should feed your cleaner if you have a lot of birds coming to it once a month.
Once a month?
But once a year is a good thing to do in the springtime and in the fall.
Yeah, I know once in a while that we'll send out emails where we'll do a feeder wash, and usually we raise money for a charity or something like that.
Correct.
Yeah, we
probably
should do that. Yeah.
So feeding it, cleaning it, if you're just giving it a look, seeing if all the perches and the screws are there, and replace the feeder if you need to, and then put it up clean.
All right. Well, Shirley, thank you very much. I'd like you to stay around for our show, and that if you want to interject something or we're screwing up with something, you make sure you correct us. All right.
Okay, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Glad you're here.
All right. We'll be right back after this. High Yield brand bone meal contains 10% slow-release natural phosphorus. It helps all plants to develop sturdy root systems and stimulate healthy growth. You'll use it every time you plant bulbs, but it also is an excellent supplement fertilizer for roses, flowers, and vegetable gardens. High Yield bone meal is sourced from steamed bone meal, which provides a clean, natural source of phosphorus. High Yield is brought to you by VPG, the Fertilome people, and is available at these great stores: Daniel's Garden Center, Sumneytown Pike, Harleysville, Pennsylvania. Bloomers in the Garden is an hour-long gardening radio program that airs to over 6 million residents throughout the Delaware Valley. From Allentown to Wilmington, from the Main Line to the Jersey Shore, Bloomers in the Garden can be heard twice each Saturday morning, first at 8 a.m. on 860 WWDB, and again at 9 on 610 a.m. ESPN Radio. Each episode of Bloomers in the Garden will be broadcast on Bloomers' Facebook page and available as a podcast on bloomersinthegarden.com. Bloomers in the Garden is adding sponsors. Share your message to our large, diverse group of listeners. Commercials and segment sponsorships are available at incredibly affordable prices. Let Bloomers in the Garden get your message out to one of the largest and most diverse populations in the country. If you're interested in joining us in the garden, please visit bloomersinthegarden.com or email len@bloomers.com.
Then we're going to talk about how to dig up and store our tender bulbs.
Yeah, we were talking about it, and that it's not done that often anymore because so many of those hybrids. But anybody who's put in some dahlia bulbs, needs to do it.
Yes, they can. And like you said, we don't like to work hard out in the lawn sometimes in the gardens. But this is something that really we need to look at, and we can get those plants that we've had and put them in again in the spring.
That's right. And the actual bulbs themselves have become larger over the season, so that you're taking them out, and now you have even a bigger bulb and a potential for a bigger yield in flowers and size. So one of the things, dahlias.
Dahlias are one, yes.
But there are certain types, like the dahlias that you buy in a pack. Those aren't ones you dig up, right?
Right.
So it's what type of dahlias would you end up doing?
The ones that you do, not the cheap ones like the cactus or dinner plate.
Well, no, those are the ones. Dinner plate dahlias. Yep, dinner plate dahlias. Those are the ones with those enormous flowers, really big flowers. Get to be about 2 feet tall or so, right? Maybe even taller. There's also cactus dahlia. Those are the ones that are the specialty dahlias. Those are the ones, not the seedling.
Not the seedling.
Not the seedling type. Not the seedling type. Even not those 4-inch dahlias that you buy that are about $5 a piece. These are specific types of dahlias, but also elephant ears. Mm-hmm. Elephant ears are gigantic. Those things that look like, I don't know what they look like, giant coconuts. Those things that you buy, they can be expensive. Mm-hmm. And that if you can save them for next year and plant them in, you've got a leap because you've got a bigger bulb, right?
Right. That's it. Boy, how great is that?
Yeah. Gladiolas.
We have cannas.
Yeah.
Right. We have calla lilies. Yeah. Another beautiful.
Calla lilies. I love calla lilies.
We have some in our garden center now. They're gorgeous.
The colors on calla lilies now, it used to be white and yellow. Now there's everything. We have burgundy. Anyway. That's another show.
Tons.
But tuberous begonias.
Begonias, yes.
Right. Now, tuberous begonias are a little different. They have a weird kind of bulb, looks like an upside down hockey puck kind of thing. Anyway, not waxleaf begonias.
Yeah, not those. No.
Not those. No. So, what's our method? If you guys out there have bulbs that you planted in the spring and they are not hardy. So, you can get peonies bulbs, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about those bulbs that are annuals if you let them in the ground, that will rot in the ground. So what do you do first?
You have to wait until the first hard frost.
And now a hard frost is not just like a little bitty thing that hurts a little bit of the foliage. Yeah. It's pretty much a freeze or pretty close to it.
They call it a killing frost sometimes.
Yeah.
That's the one that
32 degrees or lower.
That's correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And so after that happens, it's time to dig them up.
Yes.
Do I use a shovel?
No, you don't. We're going to use something more gentle. Using a fork spade.
Okay.
And you're going to go around it and lift it up out of the ground gently.
Okay.
Not to just hurt those the bottom of the plant, the root system. So
try to get it up and get as much out.
Yes.
And it's also always a good idea to water it first to try to loosen that soil a little bit so that you can dig in it easier. Because you don't want to rip it out of the ground. If you remember how the dahlias went in, they kind of were weird. They had like nodules and big things that were hanging off of them, and you don't want to rip them off of the plant.
Yeah, they're very sensitive, so be careful when you're doing that. So that's the first step that we need to do, and be aware of that.
All right. So I pulled it out of the ground.
Yes.
Very carefully. I've got a big root mass now.
Oh, yes.
What do I do?
You got to shake that soil off. Shake it all off.
Shake.
Shake, shake, shake. Yes.
Shake that soil off.
Right. And that way you're clean, and all that soil is back into your garden.
Okay. And then what?
And then you're going to hose it off.
Really?
Yes.
Get it wet?
Yes. You're going to clean it off with the hose.
Okay.
And get that even more of the soil off of that.
So get all that soil off,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And then let them. I guess you let them dry out, right?
Yes, you have to let them dry.
You can't put them away wet.
No, you can't. You don't want
The
that.
whole idea is to get them so you can plant them again next year.
That's correct.
And that problem is going to be, if they're wet, they're going to rot, and you don't want that to rot.
No,
That's what you don't want.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like, you think you're doing a good thing by bringing the whole, like, if you have them in a pot and you're bringing them inside, that doesn't always work.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't always work. All right, so
the next step is
go ahead.
the storage. How are we going to store the plants?
Okay.
And the first step is to put it in a ventilated container.
So like a great big, I don't know, like
Big box.
Tupperware type thing. Yeah, they've got those things all over. So
yeah,
perfect,
Mhm.
perfect.
Yeah.
And then so we put them in. So I've got my dahlia bulbs and I put them in.
Right.
And do I just leave them there all alone?
Oh no, we don't want to do that.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought I was done. What do I have to do?
First, you need to add some peat, dry peat, or a little bit of sawdust on the bottom of your container.
Okay, and that goes and takes all the moisture out of it, right?
That is correct, Len.
Okay.
Right.
Now, but we don't want it to dry out.
No, we don't. That's something we don't need to do,
Mm-hmm.
and keep an eye on again. One of the things you need to do is that they're not touching each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that promotes rotting again,
Yeah.
and you don't want that to happen.
Right, because if one little piece goes, it's like one bad apple spoils the whole batch.
That's right.
One bad piece of a
Mhm.
bulb rots the whole batch.
That's correct. Just like the flu, it comes from one person to the next. Same thing with a plant.
And here at Bloomers in the Garden, we recommend everyone get their flu shot today.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so where do we put them? Put them in the coolest part of our house, but not the garage.
Yeah.
Someplace
where it's at least 50 degrees. You don't want it too hot. You don't want it too hot,
right?
because then you'll have problems. And so you want to keep it in what we call the root cellar. Remember?
That's right.
Root cellar.
That's right. That's why it's called a cellar. You go down into the cellar, and the cellar is a basement.
That's right.
But if you have a finished basement, if you have a crawl space or somewhere else where you could do it, and you don't want to have a lot of light,
No.
right? You want it in the dark.
In the dark.
They're in suspension. They're in storage. So it's you want to keep them cool, dry. Check them once in a while, because if any piece is starting to rot, you want to get rid of it.
Right. Again, prevention, and you need to do that. If not, you're going to lose everything.
Right. Right. Well, the other thing is we were talking about storing geraniums. It's an old-fashioned thing where those cutting geraniums, you take them out of the ground, you go and you do the same method. You rake through all that foliage that has been all hit by the freeze,
Right.
and you do the same thing,
Same thing.
but you put them upside down.
Upside down. Is
With
that
the
the
roots
reason?
with the
I
roots
love that.
facing up, put them in a cardboard box.
And what's the reason for that, Len?
What happened? The same thing. You get a bigger plant next year,
Right.
and you don't want those things to be touching, because you don't want them to rot.
Right. And putting upside down also has to do with the actual moisture. It retains the moisture more so.
That's right.
If that's done. So that's really important.
That's right. And it's the same basic method.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great video from Garden Gate magazine all about on how to do that. Garden Gate is
Garden
one of the
Gate.
best gardening magazines out there. We fully endorse that.
Great resource. It's
right?
wonderful, isn't it?
It's great.
Yeah.
It is.
And the magazine's really super.
Yep, it's the Victoria's Secrets for Gardeners.
Yes, it is.
All right. We'll be back right after this message to talk about our favorite houseplants.
Yes.
Is your lawn showing signs of stress from the past hot and humid summer months? Now is the time to feed your lawn to help bring it back to a dark green, healthy lawn. Bonite's Winterizer Fertilizer contains the correct balance of nutrients to evenly feed your lawn for up to 8 weeks and get it ready for the winter months. Bonide's Winterizer Fertilizer contains their exclusive Vital X micronutrient package with iron, which will give your lawn that deep green color you want and provide the right nutrients for your lawn needs for overall good health. Winterizer Fertilizer can be applied with a drop or broadcast spreader and is available in 5,000 and 15,000 square foot coverage bags. So pick up some of Bonide's Winterizer Fertilizer now, as fall is simply the best time to feed your lawn. Bonide products are family made in America. Winterizer Fertilizer is available at these fine stores: Clark Seed, Kenton, Delaware; Southern States Co-op, Middletown, Delaware; Ronnie's Garden World, Smyrna, Delaware. Well, Julio, we're now going to talk about some things that are time to go and fill some of those spots. It's kind of getting depressing out. The season's starting to change. The garden's starting to dissipate. Those annuals, they're going to be gone soon. So it's time to bring in some houseplants that will give you something green all winter long and give you something to take care of and basically fill that gap until springtime comes. So we're going to talk about our favorite houseplants. What is your favorite? Top of the list.
At the top, number one is the money tree. I love it.
Does it
And
sprout
I'll tell you
money?
what. It doesn't have to give me any money yet.
No.
I'm looking for those $5 bills, but not yet.
Well, they're not under the leaves. We have some in the studio. If you go onto our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see what we're looking at. That's a shameless plug. So, Will, tell me about the money tree.
What I really love about the money tree, Len, is that it has a braided trunk. You don't see that too often in any of the houseplants,
Right.
and that really attracted me to it.
But
And that's what I really like about it.
Now, that's something that's done in the greenhouse as it grows.
Yes,
You know.
yes, it's pretty neat. Another thing I like is the 5 little leaves. Looks like your fingers, your hand,
It does.
and I really love the leaves on that too. And easy to take care of, real easy.
Tell me, how do I take care of it?
It thrives under any type of light condition, and so it's a great easy plant to put in any area, like say your office or anything like that.
Okay. It's tall. The one that we have here in the studio, it's pretty tall.
Yeah, it's pretty tall, isn't it?
Yeah, so it can get to be three foot tall
Yes.
when it's full grown.
Yes,
And you just have to continue that braid as you're doing it.
that's correct. That's correct.
Now, how about your next plant? It's the prayer plant.
Yes, I'm always in prayer land, and
Yes.
it's called a maranta. For those of you who want to know what a prayer plant is, it grows. It's low growing
It's
plant.
pretty.
It doesn't grow up real tall, so it's more of a low growing plant.
It's full. And this one has a flower on it. I mean, it's not grown for the flower, but
No, it's not. But that one has a flower.
yeah.
It's a rare thing
Yeah.
to see it.
So explain it for those of the listening audience that can't see it.
Mhm.
So it's a lighter green leaf, but not chartreuse. It's a medium green.
Mm-hmm.
It has spotted leaves that are
Mhm.
not really, more like leopard spots than they are like a polka dot. Pretty plant.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Pretty
Leaves are
plant.
wonderful.
Pretty plant.
It's something like to paint it or painted on.
Yeah. And can grow in low light.
Low light, yes.
So great for a bathroom because it doesn't get out of control.
Mm-hmm.
The humidity in the bathroom is
Humidity.
always a great spot for plants because you don't have to worry about with the water and things where again, winter time, you turn the heat on and all of a sudden everybody's dry. There's no humidity.
Bloody nose.
Bloody
Remember that?
Yeah. So again, it's a great plant, and you don't have to worry about feeding it. A couple times a year, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one plant we don't have in the studio, you've got a Rex begonia at home.
Yes,
You
I
said it's
do.
enormous.
Oh,
As a houseplant, not outside.
no.
This is a Rex begonia as a houseplant.
Oh, boy, those leaves are unbelievable. They just keep growing. And I had to repot it because it's growing so great.
And it's a deep burgundy.
Burgundy,
right?
it's got a little bit of...
A little hairy. Like it has a texture to it.
It has a
It's not
texture to
smooth.
it. Yes, it's not smooth. And the leaves are what you really get attracted to. They, like again, the burgundies, and it's got a little bit of grayish. It's got a bit of red in there sometimes. It just depends on the new leaves are a little different than the older leaves. It's
Well,
really
it must love the spot because you said it's about 2 foot across, maybe, or more.
2.5 to
Wow.
3, yes.
Wow. Well,
That's unbelievable.
my favorite is Aglaonemia. Now I may be saying it wrong, but it is a fantastic plant. Again, it is grown in almost any light condition. I know that I have them at my house where I have a little planter box and it's in almost the dark.
Wow.
And it grows fantastic.
That's great.
The watering on it, I'm a busy guy. I'd like to say that I take really good care of my houseplants, but I don't. But they're very forgiving. They'll wilt down a little bit, and then I'll water them. They'll be just fine.
Yeah.
It's not where they'll turn brown and say, hey, you didn't water me once, and I'm going to get you back.
That's right.
It will just wilt, and you just water it, it comes back. But the key is there's this new variety you really like. This is that red.
Red is beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, it is a newer variety within the last few years.
Rex Red.
Right on. And it just grows anywhere. They're normally mostly greens with a little bit of a gray in them, and there's a lot of different varieties. But again, low light conditions, water when the surface goes dry, and it just is a nice, easily controlled. It's not a floor plant. It's more of a maybe 2 feet tall. So you could use it in different places. Doesn't get out of control. It's not something you have to hide or tuck in a corner because it's gotten so big. Now, my other one is about similar in size, is Dieffenbachia. Dieffenbachia is also known as dumb cane. With that is that if you go and chew on it, it paralyzes your vocal cords.
Wow.
There are a few people that would like to use that on me.
Oh, my.
Shirley?
No, you're
Yeah,
fine.
I'm okay. All right. I'll make sure that again, it does better in brighter light because you get the variegation on the foliage. Fantastic plant. Again, we have these in the studio that we're talking about. And so if you want to go on to either probably our YouTube page would be the best place to see them. It's very, very forgiving, and it has a dense root system where it almost looks like a water plant to me. But again, forgiving, easy to care for, looks great.
Beautiful.
And the other one that we have in here is an anthurium. Now I also love peace lilies. Peace lilies are, everybody has seen the peace lily. They may not know it. It's that white flower that comes out. They're everywhere. But this is different. This is an anthurium. An anthurium is an excellent houseplant. I have had them now in my kitchen planter box for at least 6 months.
Right.
They get poor care by me, like I admitted. That I water them. It's like, oh darn, I gotta water them. It's like, should I feed the dogs or water the plants? And so what happens is that they get watered when I see that they're real dry. But gosh, they're pumping out flowers like crazy.
Isn't it amazing?
It is. And again, the science of plants. We're going to talk about the science of plants through tissue culture. They have developed so many different colors. There's orange. There's all different colors that are available now. There's a burgundy. There's of course there's red, but now there's pink and there's white, and just an amazing plant. Just an amazing plant. So I suggest you go out to the garden center and go take a look. Bring some houseplants in. And again, if you have a problem with a houseplant, we're the place to help you figure out what's going on with it. We're there to help. Every garden center wants you to be successful. You know, it's bring a piece in, bring the whole thing in.
Bring the whole thing, yes.
Yeah, but also, I'm giving you permission to throw it out. If it's not looking good, just start all over.
That's right.
It's the way that you learn.
That's right.
If you're struggling with a houseplant, get something that you want to take care of rather than something that you feel like a failure with. It just makes you so much happier when you're taking care of something that's live and vibrant, and you've learned for the next time. Because sometimes a plant, if it's 50 to 75% dead, toss it.
That's all right.
Toss
That's
it.
right.
Start
Not a
over.
problem.
All right. We're going to be talking about what the heck do you do with all your leaves that are starting to fall from the trees. We'll be right back after this. bird sanctuary at Bloomer's Home and Garden Center is dedicated to the care and feeding of wild birds. We carry a flock of feeders like the Brome Squirrel-Proof Feeder, which has a lifetime guarantee. Brome makes fantastic feeders for frustrating squirrels and feeding songbirds. Bloomer's Bird Sanctuary has a vast selection of wild bird seed, suet, seed cakes, and mealworms. We carry Lyric, Coles, C&S, Pine Tree Farms, and our own line called Bloomer's Blend. Bloomer's Blend Songbird Magnet contains premium black oil sunflower, peanut splits, millet, safflower, and tree nuts. It's sure to attract the most colorful songbirds to your yard. Bloomer's Home and Garden Center is located in Washington Township in Gloucester County, New Jersey. Visit us online at www.bloomers.com. When you come in, ask for Shirley Spurbeck, Bloomer's Wild Bird Specialist. Mention you heard it on Bloomers in the Garden Radio, and we'll give you $10 off a 20-pound bag of Bloomer's Blend Songbird Magnet Mix.
Well, Ed, the leaves are falling down on my grass and my lawn and all over.
Yeah, mine too.
So we're going to do something about that, aren't we?
Yeah. My deck is completely covered with oak leaves right now.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and oak leaves are a little acidic. They're one of the hardest leaves to get them to decay. But that's one thing that everything is geared towards basically getting them to get shredded up and to be able to make them into compost or something like that. So what do you do with your leaves? Do you just put them to the street?
No, I don't, Lynn. The big word nowadays is sustainability. So I like to bring my leaves and I put them in my garden.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Do you shred them up first? Or
I do. I bought this. It's called Works. It's like a vacuum cleaner type of a blower.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about it has a backpack.
It has a bag on the
Yeah.
back. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And it's like a reverse
Blower.
blower,
That's right. It's like a vacuum cleaner, sucks it up,
right?
and then it shreds all those leaves, and I can throw them into my garden
Okay.
in the soil on top of the soil. What I do is
That's great.
I dig a hole, like a trench, and I throw them in there
Okay.
into my soil. I go about a foot deep.
You're ambitious.
I know I am. But that's what I do, and I don't. It's not a big area. It's a raised bed, so it's easy for me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
I'm older, that.
Yeah.
So it's a little tough. But
I'm lazier.
it's all right.
With that, it's certain towns like Washington Township, for instance, that they'll take your leaves and that they're not just thrown into landfill. That they are used from the farmers, that it is put onto the fields and it is used as organic matter, similar to a compost, but compost and the leaf, it's a different theory. We were talking about leaf mold in England, they do so much more than the Americans do as far as gardening goes, and that look to England, look across the pond, because there's a lot of inspiration there that they create leaf mold, and
that's amazing.
That term's always loose. So can you give me a basic of what you're kind of doing that in a way?
Yes, in a way, but I'm not. It's a process where it takes about a year or two.
Really?
Yes.
Oh boy.
So I'm not waiting that long. You know how we are.
Yeah.
We like things quickly, but it's a process where it takes at least a year or two, or even 3 sometimes.
And to speed that up, you shred it.
You shred it.
So you're sped up that way.
Mm-hmm.
And as the leaves compost, it makes that leaf mold. And that therefore it becomes organic matter that you mix into the soil or into your garden.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you're turning over your garden next year, you would add that to it as long as it's ready.
That's wrong. Yes, correct.
One key is turning it,
and also keeping it moist. That's another area that you need to do.
right? And you can add. There are things that like we sell, like anything. What we talked about, feeding the soil and microbes and things like that. You can add any type of fertilizer that has those microbes in it, that's an organic, into your compost heap, and that will seed it with some of that bacteria that you want to make it work.
That's a great point, Len. Putting that fertilizer on top to break it down even more so,
Yeah, and
even quicker.
Yeah, and it's again, there are specific types of things to use. I know that one of our pond people that they have, and that's going to be, what is their name? That it's Microblift. Microblift has a gardening line of, again, it's the same thing that you put in a pond, but it is meant to decompose leaves and to create that action that you're looking for to make that go a little faster.
And I also put some of my grass clippings in there, so
that's a real good idea.
Yes.
That's a real good idea. And there are certain trees, if you're putting in a new tree, like for instance a bald cypress or a ginkgo, any of those leaves just dry up and blow away. They don't really have an issue like a big fat leaf like an oak leaf does, where you need to rake it up. So that's something to consider if you're thinking about a new tree. Now, we talked about mulches last week, and that pine trees, like I have a big row of white pines, and I've got needles everywhere, and then I'm going to use them as a mulch. And I want to use that more and more. That again, down south, it's used as a regular basis, but it's acidic. So I go and I add that back into the soil around my evergreens and shrubs and landscape plants. It prevents weeds, and to me, it's an excellent mulch.
Excellent. That's wonderful.
Yep, and that the color is that brown color that I'm looking for. I don't know.
Can't beat that.
You can't beat that. Yeah. But leaves, you need to rake them up because you don't want them to mat down around your plants, around your perennials.
It's moldy, right?
It is. If you're doing like Julio does, where he's grinding them up ahead of time, that's one thing that's really good, where you put that mulch around. Are you mulching, like you have all those daylilies, are you mulching the daylilies with it at all?
No, I let them.
But you can.
Oh yes, you can.
Yes, yeah, and again, it's any of the perennials that you want to protect those roots, because remember, even though the tops are dying down, those roots are still growing like crazy.
That's right,
growing like crazy. I think that I might do that. I might go and take that because I need to mulch, and rather than take a bunch of bagged or I might just go ahead and take those leaves and grind them up and use them as a mulch around my landscape.
That's wonderful.
And again, sustainability.
Yes.
Sustainability.
That's what we do.
You're an inspiration, Julio. You're an inspiration. Well, I know that don't put them in the trash, please. Most likely that there is a leaf program in your town. Call, find out how it works, because there might be another group that might take them. Community gardens, see if there's community gardens that might want to take them. Just don't go ahead and get them into the landfill. There's enough junk in there that we don't want in a garden.
Yes.
So
it's a great point, Len. And we need to help, and use what we have.
Yeah.
And the trees, they drop their leaves for a reason, and because they use that up themselves.
Yep. No, that's it. All right, guys, we'll be back right after this.
Bloomers in the Garden is brought to you each week by Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Bloomers is an award-winning garden center just 20 minutes from Philadelphia. Bloomers has been providing expert advice turning brown thumbs green for over 30 years. At Bloomers, we want you to ask us every question, even if you think it's silly. We share information in a friendly, non-judgmental way that is meant to teach and spread the joy of gardening. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center in Washington Township, Gloucester County. For directions, go to bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden.
See me and Julio down by the schoolyard. See me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
Well, Julio, down by the schoolyard, Shirley, still with us.
Yes, I am.
Thank you for teaching us so much about birds. I'll tell you what, the peanut splits, I think I'm getting a peanut split feeder. I didn't realize so many more birds I could be seeing if I use those.
Oh, yes, the more variety of seeds you have, the more variety of birds you can get.
Wow. And houseplants. I know that right now, having some houseplants in my home has made a real difference. I made a combo pot.
Did you?
Looks great. Looks great.
Yes. I keep adding on to mine.
Yeah. My geraniums, I think, we have a lot of geraniums that we have that are in stock. that we're going to try to save them and see how they do.
Great.
Yeah, and Shirley, you work in the annual section too.
Correct.
All those varieties are all cutting varieties. They're not those seed varieties. So we're going to try to save them too.
Well, we've got some beautiful flowers on.
Yeah.
So let's save them.
So we'll go and who knows? And then if it doesn't work, we'll just do what we always do, get them next year. But again, they'll be that much bigger.
Yes.
So they're off to a start.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I can't wait till spring.
Yeah.
Well, there's still plenty to do now.
Yes, there is.
Indeed.
There is.
Yes,
I mean,
there is.
we've got a killing frost is a while away. We'll probably will have a frost within the next 2 weeks or so.
Yes.
But again, there's still lots of gardening to be done.
Lots to do.
Get your bird feeders up and running.
That's it.
Oh, yes.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Best variety of bird feeder. Should we just go with a platform feeder? Just should I pick
Our
some
platforms are good.
Yeah.
Because most of the birds will eat from those. But a tube feeder's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Tube feeder.
And a cage if there's on.
Yeah, cages are good. They keep the squirrels and the grackles out.
Okay.
Grackles. There's a thing again. Grackles.
Grackles.
Well, on next week's show, we're going to go and talk about what our lawns are doing now that the hot weather has kind of subsided. And then we're going to go and talk about moms and what to do with your moms now that the flowers are all gone.
That's right. We're going to be talking about the winterizing of ponds.
Yep.
So looking that way.
And don't miss why people ask if it's okay to plant. We get that question constantly. It drives me nuts.
Oh, yes. And we'll be planting ornamental cabbage and kale, too, right, Lane?
Yep, and we'll talk about the benefits of that. So join us next week in the garden.
See you in the garden.
Yes, God bless you in the garden.
Bloomers in the Garden is an hour-long gardening radio program that airs to over 6 million residents throughout the Delaware Valley. From Allentown to Wilmington, from the Main Line to the Jersey Shore, Bloomers in the Garden can be heard twice each Saturday morning, first at 8 a.m. on 860 WWDB and again at 9 on 610 a.m. ESPN Radio. Each episode of Bloomers in the Garden will be broadcast on Bloomers' Facebook page and available as a podcast on bloomersinthegarden.com. Bloomers in the Garden is adding sponsors. Share your message to our large, diverse group of listeners. Commercials and segment sponsorships are available at incredibly affordable prices. Let Bloomers in the Garden get your message out to one of the largest and most diverse populations in the country. If you're interested in joining us in the garden, please visit bloomersinthegarden.com or email len@bloomers.com.